Hi, my name is Joseph Hadaway, CMO of MarketPlays.com. And what you're about to listen to is the recording of our weekly live podcast hosted by myself and MarketPlays.com co founders F.A. Burak and John Eason. Come join us every Monday, 5 p.m. Eastern, live on our YouTube channel to talk stocks, news, and everything else going on in the world. Thank you so much to everyone who tuned into this yesterday, and thank you so much to everyone listening right now. Hope to see you next Monday.
All right.
So yeah,
Yeah.
nuclear stocks.
Yeah, let's get to it.
I'm actually going to kind of let you start this one off here, FA, because this was your idea for the topic this week.
Yeah.
You specifically were looking into nuclear fission.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it is kind of one of the reasons why I actually wanted to do a marketplace in the first place, because not very easy to find information about things that you want to invest in, online, especially if it's like a topic that is not extremely popular. It's like a kind of like underground at the point, right? Nuclear investment or quantum computing. Those sorts of tech stuff. That interests me a lot, and I just haven't been able to find good places to discuss those. So I mean, just as a side note, it's like that's kind of why marketplace kind of even exists. But I get sidetracked. So to get us started, I wanted to talk about nuclear stocks specifically because of last year's research, the nuclear fission. I don't know if many people are up to date with that just yet, but basically the very first fission was successful last year, which basically means that once it is in a reproducible and industrial scale, it's gonna provide infinite energy. That's what they're going for. It's kind of like the holy grail of energy. Once achieved, all these oil companies, there won't be any need for, well, you'll still need the portable stuff, but mostly like powering your home, things like that would go away. So I wanted to talk about what can we do right now to maybe capitulate on that in 10 years or 20 years, whenever that happens, because it is going to happen, in my opinion. So there are companies that side industries, basically. They're the mining companies, they're the research companies. And at this moment, I'm mostly on the, I guess, mining side of things, because the research companies, I think they're not that public, right, Joseph? I mean, I know you looked into it too, and I've been speaking a little bit too long, so I'm gonna let you speak a little bit.
Yeah, when you brought this up, I'll admit you had to explain this to me, and I'm still not fully researched and well spoken on it. The nuclear fusion. Yeah, it was kind of new, and shout out Charter also had me look up the Tennessee Valley Authority today as a nuclear stock. That also blew my mind.
Yeah.
But yeah, getting back into it, I was looking at nuclear stocks, and from what it sounds like you were looking at very pure play nuclear, like the mining and just going right into it.
Yeah, right, exactly. So I mean, at this stage, it's I feel like we're gonna see a lot more mining going. So that's more like a short-term play. Although I do want to play for more the long term. And there are companies such as I think the ticker SMR, what's small modular reactors company. So those guys are basically trying to make nuclear reactors smaller and more reproducible. So then, if and when this happens, they're one of the candidates to basically creating these reactors, which basically means a higher value.
That makes sense. And let me also ask you about this, because I was looking at this very as established energy companies who could switch to nuclear. Like they've already got the customer bases, they've already got a lot of stuff going. The one that really caught my eye was Duke Energy, who I am a little biased towards. They are a Charlotte, North Carolina based company. Duke already does most of the electric for most of North Carolina, and I think several of the surrounding states as well. They're already a behemoth of a stock. I think a lot of dividend investors would know exactly who I'm talking about. So if they start embracing nuclear, I mean, they've already got the grid going. They've already got the customer base.
Yeah.
rather than a company like, I think you and I also pre-talked about other companies like thinking like, a Plug Power, like a Brookfield Renewable, who are pure play renewable energy, but they are mostly research firms.
Yeah. And I think that the nuclear stocks, like in the future, it's maybe in 10 years or maybe in 15 years or maybe even earlier, it's gonna have the same hype as the AI does because of this. It's actually a better achievement than an AI because I'm kind of in the AI industry, so I kind of know what's internal to things as well with that. And I think this is a much bigger deal than AI is.
I mean, I feel like we've definitely been working toward it longer as a species. Carter, I just gave you permission to speak. Please weigh in if you have any thoughts.
Hey, can y'all hear me?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay,
can hear you.
sorry. I'm in my car. So, kind of spinning off what Joseph said about Duke, that's actually why I recommended TVA to him. They are the main electrical authority for the Tennessee Valley area in North Alabama, and they have, I believe, two nuclear reactors underneath them. Browns Ferry being one of them, which is a couple miles from my house. I think there's a really good market for these hydroelectric companies that are trying to utilize some of their standing dams in order for cooling for nuclear power, because I mean that's going to be, I mean, the power grid's never going away. So, trying to capitalize on that, I think there's going to be a lot of capital in that going forward.
Yeah, I think that makes perfect sense to me, honestly. I mean, it's an already established company. They have like I think the gas mostly, I would say. They do have some nuclear already, I think, but probably not as much. But I mean, definitely definitely a good one. So I'm gonna add this actually to the hub. I did create a new hub for nuclear.
Actually, while you're on the subject, let's shout that out real quick. What is that new nuclear hub?
Yeah, so this new nuclear hub. I mean, I used to have another one, older one, but this one basically I want to focus on a little bit on the long-term investment opportunities for nuclear. So anything that you buy now, and then basically it'll kind of become the big deal that I think it will be, and then we're gonna be discussing those types of investments. So like the research side of it, and then I mean some short term too. Obviously, we don't want to lose money, but mostly on the research and whoever is doing the research, who's going to be coming up, things like that. It's kind of, you can think of it as pharmacy with trials, but for nuclear.
I like the comparison. Actually, I mean, I think it is pretty safe to say you are much more versed on this than I am, but I do kind of want to pick your brain a little bit on this, FA, if you don't mind. Um, so you're talking about, long-term nuclear energy stocks. So we're talking 20 plus years down the line. So if you're putting money into any of these, we're thinking a long-term time horizon.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I wouldn't really put all my portfolio into it, I would say, but definitely some portion of it, because you never know when it's gonna hit. These types of things, they just hit, you know.
Well, I guess, continuing on that, do you see this as like a high risk play, or are you seeing it more as it's gonna pop? We're just wondering what day.
Yeah, that's exactly what I think. The latter. I don't think this is risky at all. I think this is the future of energy. Like renewable energies, sure, sunlight energy, and wind energy, they're great, but I don't think they're gonna have the stability to like replace a nuclear energy. Once you have good and safe nuclear energy, that'll blow them out of water.
So I got to bring this up then also because we're talking nuclear energy, and as a technological thing is super cool. Even the research I did going into this, but we got to bring in regulatory issues as well. Like there's
Oh
no
yeah.
bringing up nuclear with avoiding that.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's so I'm actually not super sure if that like if Democrats are pro nuclear or the Republicans are pro nuclear. So not very clear to me. I think there's like a divide that is across political lines with nuclear because the push against nuclear was so high, especially after Chernobyl. It's difficult to say. What is your thought on that, Joseph?
I'm actually with you. I don't really know where that falls on a party line thing.
So I kind of actually do know where that falls in a party line.
Please.
So Republicans and Democrats are both, I'm not going to say anti-nuclear, but they're never going to push for it. The Libertarian Party is very pro-nuclear, and that is something that they stand with like very, very strongly. And the United States military is very, very pro-nuclear, not for weapons, but because of all of the Navy majority of the Navy ships now are rammed by nuclear reactors.
Interesting. That's good to know. That's good insight. Thank you so much.
I knew we, just on what Charter said at Blue Collar Investments on Twitter. Charter, if you want to shout yourself out, this is going on YouTube and Spotify.
Okay, yeah, man.
But yeah, I didn't know we were up to a majority of the Navy. Is that just like warships, aircraft carriers, or are we all across the board?
I will have to double check that. I know most of the subs that we have now are nuclear. A lot of the larger ships are going to be nuclear. Now, some of our smaller attack ships are still going to be your standard light turbine diesels, other accommodations like that. But I'm not super up to date on the Navy. I just know that every year more and more seafaring ships are going to be becoming nuclear because you can run one of those ships, anywhere, depending on the size of the reactor, 10 to 50 years on essentially one tank of proverbial gas. And it creates about as much waste that can be contained within a 55-gallon drum.
That's nothing. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to quiz you also, Charter, one last thing on just state of Alabama. Do you know if they're building those at Austell and Mobile?
Oh, so funny you say that. I actually toured Austell last summer. I did not see anything with nuclear. Most of Austell ships were smaller attack ships, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure they were going to be powered by your standard diesel turbine engines. But everything within that facility was top secret of nature, and so I did ask that question about what it was powered by, and was basically told that they could not answer that question.
Nice. I had to ask, being Mobile, Alabama, born and raised. There's an Austell plant and an Airbus plant there, so we were
Mm-hmm.
constantly, but I'm going to use the word honestly, bombarded, because it felt near weekly in school and even through college, where we'd have Austell and Airbus reps coming to talk to us, and it just kind of hit me. I don't remember them ever mentioning nuclear, but I
I think
also
their
could have just
ships are
missed
too
class that
small.
day.
As big as those ships are, they're relatively small in the grand scheme of things. They're smaller attack ships and medical barges, from what I do remember. I just don't think they're large enough.
I do think you're right about that, because we also got to think about if anyone out there listening is geographically familiar with the southern Alabama area, getting those ships up and down the Mobile River and out the Mobile Bay. It is not the deepest water, to say the least.
No, I mean, their main attack ship was basically a glorified Tritoon, because it could operate in like 10 to 15 feet of water. It was nothing.
Well, now I got to go tour next time I visit my parents. I guess, kind of branching off of that as well, now that we kind of got the party line thing going. FA, I'm going to bring you back into this.
Yeah.
So I think Charter's got a very good point on they're not going to push for it, but it doesn't sound like they're fighting it either. And if
Mm-hmm.
the military's for it, I honestly did not know that. That kind of brings me more to a bullish case, because, I mean, we all know the amount of funding the
Oh
U.S.
yeah.
military gets.
Oh yeah, that's true. I mean, the amount of funding and the amount of money they spend on things, it's crazy amounts. So if that goes up even higher, then I would say it's very good for the business, especially with I think maybe we should. I haven't looked at the budgeting, I mean, I guess we can't really see the budgeting of the military, right? Can you? Which portion is gonna go to like nuclear and stuff? But last year's advancements, I'm sure there's a huge push within the military then.
I mean, there had to be some kind of R&D going on if we can fit a nuclear reactor enough to power a sub or a warship. That sounds like a pretty major breakthrough just in technology.
Well, if you go on the weapons side too, everything has gotten significantly smaller within the past, I would say, 2 to 3 decades. So your companies like, Raytheon, Boeing, General Electric, they're all going to have ties in with nuclear weaponry, not necessarily power, but that is another aspect of nuclear that you could look into. But I would say, you know, nuclear weaponry is one of the smaller budgeting items for the United States military in regards to nuclear overall. They really, really utilize nuclear power a lot.
Yeah, I mean that you're right. It goes hand in hand with the nuclear energy and I guess nuclear weapons too. It's like um, that's definitely a huge part of what the military is probably going to look for as well.
I'm really glad you mentioned GE because that was one other thing I was going to bring up. Like, investing, like we've been talking very pure play nuclear, but like GE is a great example. GE bought a Japanese nuclear firm, I believe it was Hitachi, back in 2007. So, I mean, what, 16, 17 years ago? Looking at stocks more like that who could benefit from, nuclear adoption, but aren't quite mining or energy facilities as well. Or energy producers, energy utility companies is the phrase I'm looking for.
So another
Yeah.
company that
And,
is yeah. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was so another thing to think about, like some of your heavy metal investing, like uranium, plutonium, some of those, because nuclear energy does not happen without these super dense metals. So, like, spinning off the mining stuff, you investing in these companies that are creating or that are, mining up these super dense metals is going to be, probably a pretty key thing as well, because as nuclear energy spins up, they're just going to need more and more of these materials. And it's not exactly easy to find uranium. So if you got a company that specializes in it, I wouldn't be surprised to see, a couple of these companies that are specialized in super dense metal mining. They just take off, especially if they're able to find, a decent resource of it.
Any specific ones you're watching?
No, because you know me, I'm a super hardcore index fund and ETF investor. So I am. When I hopped on this space, I was actually listening to 10Ks on my drive home, but I was doing it for private defense. I was not doing it in nuclear or anything like that. But I can definitely start looking into it. Um, Tom, the savings captain, has talked about uranium mining companies a few times, I believe. So he might be a pretty valuable person to talk to for that sector. He's definitely going to know more about it than I am.
Yeah, definitely mining side of things. I think there's the NEE, nuclear, well, Next Energy, I think they were called. And then there was a couple more that we were looking at. But I was gonna say there's actually another company that you'd be surprised to hear within this conversation, and that's Google.
Really?
Google actually bought a company, well, invested in a company called Tay Technologies. And these guys are researching on fusion. So Google's invested in nuclear fusion as well.
Huh. Did not know that. That is super. Yeah, here it is.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't really put it in this portfolio because they're just heavily on the cloud and stuff. So the amount of, I guess, stock jump you would get from nuclear, I'm not sure actually. Maybe it is a good idea, but maybe,
Well,
yeah.
actually, speaking of, just Google's business model, or I should really say rather Alphabet's business model. Correct me if you think I'm wrong with this, but I mean, they kind of just seem to throw money at anything that they think might work.
Yeah, that's also another thing. Yeah, so they don't.
But
Yeah,
so
they don't really have
is
that drive to actually make it succeed, as opposed to just having some eggs in the basket.
yeah, that's exactly where I was going with this. Because like, wow, that is super cool. I'm also thinking about like just Alphabet as a company and where does that so much fit into the core business model?
Right. They're just like wanna own everything basically. That's what they're going for.
I
It's
mean,
it's the same thing
it's
with the
obviously working.
yeah. It's just but it's the same thing with the self-driving car. It's like they don't have a self-driving car at all. Like it's nowhere near out. I don't know what even happened to theirs because theirs was the first one, and then they also had the Google Glass. They have like all these weird investments and things that doesn't pan out. Google is kind of famous for not being able to deliver on anything except for the search.
That's exactly where I was going with that. Is like Google as a company is known for throwing money at a project and not really caring if it worked or not. Just if it worked, they throw more money into it. If it didn't, then we just wouldn't talk about it anymore.
Yeah, that's true. So I mean, it's just an interesting find that I thought it was like, hey, Google's in it. I mean, I don't think Amazon is in it or Facebook's in it. It's just kind of weird.
I said the only other company, I mean, who I think would have the cash on hand to make an investment like that might be like Apple, but
Yeah, but like,
I don't think Tim Cook's making that call.
yeah, like it when Apple does something, they do it with their ecosystems. Like they bolster their like I don't know App Store or something. They're like all connected. So unless they do Apple cars or Apple houses, I don't see them doing this. But I don't know.
So, actually, kind of keeping on the tech company subject, what about like, is this a space we could see Tesla in? I mean, Elon's of course got the electric cars. He's got some of the new solar panel tiles or
I
roof tiles.
yeah, I think Tesla we could see that definitely. It's like Tesla and Elon Musk. He's if anything, he's a visionary. So he actually does see like good value things that is down in the future. So like he has SpaceX for asteroid mining, and he has Tesla for electric cars. I'm sure he would be very interested in something like this. So I don't like the guy that much, but uh,
Careful saying that while we're on his platform.
yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. Maybe they have
But
AI listening in on us.
I googled Elon Musk nuclear power while you were talking. Um, yeah, he's a huge fan of nuclear power.
Yeah, I mean, I usually find myself eye to eye with Elon Musk's assessment of things. So I would say he's one person that would be very interested in this. And if he is, then that's just the better.
Does that make Tesla an even more valuable company with the idea of, could they?
Yeah, I mean, would it fall under Tesla or would it fall under something else? Like, for example, SpaceX. I would definitely invest in SpaceX if it was public. And he knows that it's going to be worth way more than it already is, so it's not public. So people basically invest in SpaceX through Tesla. So maybe he's going to do the same thing with nuclear if he has a new company. So maybe Tesla is a right move there.
So I'm trying to think, offhand, who else could we potentially see in the nuclear space? Like, my mind goes tech. I think Nvidia is also going to stay clear because I don't see it fitting in their
Nah, yeah.
bigger plan.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Nvidia is definitely a full-on AI company right now.
Which, hey, good for them. It's obviously working. Didn't they just jump like yesterday or today?
They did.
Well,
I didn't look at
wouldn't
that.
be yesterday because today's Monday.
Yeah, I haven't
Okay.
checked that one.
Oh yeah, they're up almost 8% today.
Oh wow, what is going on with Nvidia? Jesus Christ.
Maybe nuclear energy.
Oh yeah, maybe. Who knows? That's crazy though. Like 8 points just today. When months 10%. Yeah, I think we talked about this last week. That like they're having trouble getting their engineers to work because they're so rich.
We did, yes.
That's funny. I should have been an NVIDIA engineer.
Yeah, that makes two of us.
All right. I think I've said everything that I wanted to talk about on this topic for today.
We could keep rehashing, but I think I'm right there with you.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for listening to us.
And we'll be back next week, 5 p.m. Eastern for the next Marketplays Monday. This time we should be live on the Marketplays YouTube channel at Marketplays app, I think.
Yeah.
Let me quote. I'll when I post this, when I edit and post this, I'll link everything we have down in the video description, show notes, all that. So we will be very easy to find.
Sounds good.
And yeah, if you want to keep the conversation going, marketplays.com, join H/nuclear stocks or nuclear energy. FA, what's the name of the hub? I did not check.
It's nuclear energy.
Okay, H/nuclear energy. We'd love to have you. Completely free to join.
Yeah, or you can just search it on the search bar as nuclear and it'll show up.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you so much everyone for listening in, and we'll see you next week.